on ghosts and psychic experiences and the supernormal phenomena, let me quote two wonderful thinkers who also reference other thinkers in this work about the reality of this stuff and the blindness that comes from science currently to this stuff. So I'll start with our shared hero, Houston Smith. And he's talking about the different frontiers of thought he crossed in his life, and one of the last ones being this ultimate reality, supernormal stuff going on. And so he begins, the book Black Elk Speaks enthralled my generation. It also enthralled me personally. I had a chance to meet its author, John Neihardt, when I taught a semester at Stevens College in Columbia, Missouri. And he was the visiting professor of journalism at the University of Missouri. So the story is John Neihardt interviewed the great Lakota spirit shaman, Black Elk. And there is some controversy about how well he interpreted what Black Elk told him, but Black Elk Speak went on to become one of the most important spiritual books, I would say, published in North America. And so Neihardt is very important in the Seekers community for what he did. And so Houston Smith said, I prepared 100 questions to ask him about Native American religion, and I got to ask not one. Neihardt was too preoccupied with what had happened the day before. An insurance agent had come out to Neihardt's house to investigate his claim about a minor car accident. The agent was unaccountably on edge and finally said, would you mind putting that dog out? He's making me nervous. What dog? John asked. The agent said, that little black spaniel. But then he glanced under the table and added, oh, he seems to have gone out by himself. The Neihardts had indeed owned a black spaniel, dear to them as a child, but it had died the week before. That uncanny incident of the ghost dog was all John could talk about during my visit, or perhaps ever again. He lost all interest in completing his epic poem on the Midwest, and instead founded the Center for the Study of Paranormal Phenomena. That's a good twist. And so Houston Smith goes on to say, Aborigines may be psychic, but insurance agents? Philosophers like myself fear losing their credibility if we discuss scientifically inexplicable things such as psychic abilities. Yet psychic experiences do serve a purpose. They challenge our conventional assumptions about both ourselves and the world. My assumptions get regularly challenged before I even leave my house by having Kendra as my wife. His wife, Kendra, seems amazing, and she had psychic abilities, and here he was, this philosopher of religion, with a wife who was doing wild things. And so he goes on to talk about that, also shaping him. And then we'll switch to Arthur Koestler's The Sleepwalkers. And so this is a book about scientific blindness. Koestler is one of the greatest science writers I've ever seen. Absolutely phenomenal. And he talks about the blind spot of heliocentrism, the idea that the earth goes around the sun. He's like, the Greeks are right there. So many civilizations since the Greeks were right there. Why did it take until the Renaissance for us to finally see what could have been obvious long ago? Why was there psychic blindness to this problem that actually was not that hard to solve and to make the intellectual leap towards? And he's also someone who believes in psychic phenomena, and I've quoted him earlier in our video series about one of his experiences while a prisoner of war. So he says here at the end, in the epilogue of this book, The Sleepwalkers, I shall quote two examples which seem to me to illustrate this blindness. The materialist philosophy in which the average modern scientist was reared has retained its dogmatic power over his mind, though matter itself has evaporated, as in quantum and stuff like that. And he reacts to phenomena which do not fit into it much in the same manner as his scholastic forebears reacted to suggestion that new stars might appear in the immutable eighth sphere, also called the fixed stars back then. They thought they just didn't change. Thus, for the last 30 years, an impressive body of evidence has been assembled under strict laboratory conditions which suggests that the mind might perceive stimuli emanating from persons or objects without the intermediary of the sensory organs, and that in controlled experiments these phenomena occur with a statistical frequency which invites scientific investigation. It's like the work of Reich and people like that. Yet academic science reacts to the phenomena of extrasensory perception much as the Pigeon League reacted to the Medicean stars. And that was an astronomy league who simply rejected when a new star appeared in the sky, which was a huge deal back in the Renaissance. And it flipped everything for people, for the astronomers looking at this stuff. All of a sudden a new star appeared, but some people simply said, no, there's no star there. And it seems to me, for no better reason, They react this way. If we had to accept an electron can jump from one orbit into the other without traversing the space between them, which is true, why are we bound to reject out of hand the possibility that a signal of a nature no more puzzling than Schrodinger's electron waves should be emitted and received without sensory intervention? If modern cosmology has a single comprehensive lesson, it is that the basic events in the physical world cannot be represented in three-dimensional space and time. Yet the modern version of scholasticism denies additional dimensions to the mind or brain, which it readily accords to the particles or a piece of lead. Great point. I'm not playing on the word dimension as a mechanical analogy after the manner of the fourth dimension of occult quacks. I'm merely saying that since the space-time framework, the concepts of matter and causality, as understood both by classical physics and by common sense experience, have been abandoned by modern physics, there seems to be no justification in refusing to investigate empirical phenomena because they do not fit into that already abandoned philosophy. And just to finish, a second example of the hubris of contemporary science is the rigorous banishment of the word purpose from its vocabulary. So, here are some great thinkers against the rationalist materialist doctrine and acceptance of there's a lot of data out here. It doesn't fit into any of our theories, but the data is there. Let's take a look at it.